It all started with a loud noise that shook the whole neighborhood. Not an earthquake, not thunder, but the sound of a helicopter landing right in our backyard. It wasn't some wild stunt or joyride. This was real. My grandpa was having a serious medical emergency, and time was running out. The fastest way to get him help was airlifting him straight to the hospital. We barely had time to think. My family called for an emergency medevac, and within minutes, the chopper was circling overhead, getting ready to land behind our house. But then, she showed up. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our HOA. She wasn't just yelling or complaining. Like usual, she completely lost it. Waving her arms, screaming about rules and property lines, even though this was a life or death situation. We all thought she'd just rant for a minute and storm off like she always does. But what happened next stunned everyone. Somehow, she did something that stopped the helicopter from landing, and it wasn't an accident. I can't say everything here. Let's just say it was enough to get the entire mission shut down, forcing the chopper to pull away. My grandpa was left lying there, helpless. But here's the twist Karen didn't see coming. Grandpa isn't just some old man who gardens all day. Before he retired, he led a SWAT team. He trained with the best. And even now, his old team stays in touch. They owe him everything. So when they found out what happened, and how the HOA allowed one person to interfere in an emergency, they weren't just angry. They were ready to act. What came next turned our quiet little neighborhood upside down. Sirens, tactical vans. HOA meetings turned into interrogations. And the same people who used to side with Karen, they started vanishing from the conversation. But this story isn't just about my grandpa, or Karen, or even the HOA. It's about what happens when rules cross the line into madness and what it takes to stand up. When lives are on the line, you won't believe how far this went. Karen had always been a problem in our neighborhood. The kind of person who measured grass blades and sent fines for having a garden gnome that was too cheerful. She ran the HOA like it was her personal kingdom, and most people just went along with it to avoid the drama. But what nobody knew until that day was just how far she'd go to keep control, and stopping a rescue helicopter that crossed a line none of us could ignore. See, what most of the neighbors didn't realize is that my grandpa isn't just a war hero or a retired SWAT leader. He's got connections, deep ones. It's the kind of people you don't see in public, but they're always watching. The moment's word spread about what happened, that a rescue had been blocked, that a delay almost cost him his life, calls were made. Quiet ones, the kind that don't go through the usual channels. And soon enough, black SUVs started showing up on our street. No sirens, just tinted windows, serious faces, and questions nobody was prepared to answer. Meanwhile, Karen kept acting like she'd done nothing wrong. At the next HOA meeting, she actually bragged about keeping the skies quiet. She called the rescue team a nuisance and accused us of breaking community rules. It was like she lived in her own world, one where a man's life didn't matter as long as her lawn stayed undisturbed. But what she didn't realize was that the rest of the HOA board had started to turn on her. They were scared. Whispers started going around about past complaints being covered up, fines that were never approved, and cameras she may have installed without permission. And just when it felt like things couldn't get weirder, one of the board members suddenly disappeared. No calls, no texts, just gone. His mailbox overflowed, and his car sat parked in the same spot for days. That's when my grandpa called in his old unit, not for revenge, but to uncover something deeper. Something that had been hiding in plain sight behind HOA paperwork and garden regulations. What they found started changing everything. It didn't take long before things really started unraveling. Grandpa's old unit wasn't just asking questions, they were digging deep. They started talking to neighbors, pulling security footage, checking HOA documents from years back. And what they found? It wasn't just one incident. Karen had a long history of pushing people out, quietly. A family that vanished after refusing to cut down their old tree. A couple fined so badly they had to sell their home. All swept under the rug. At first, everyone thought it was just strict rule enforcement, but now it looked like something way darker. Meanwhile, strange things started happening around our house. We'd find tire tracks in the backyard that didn't match any of our cars. Someone had gone through our trash. And late at night, I'd see a shadow across the street just standing there, watching. We couldn't prove anything, but Grandpa knew the signs. He said, "She's not working alone." And suddenly, it wasn't just about Karen anymore. It was about the whole HOA board and whatever secret they were all covering up. One of the subplots that really got to me was Mrs. Avery, the sweet old lady who used to bake cookies for the whole block. She pulled me aside one day and said she knew things, but was too scared to talk. Said Karen had something on everyone's photos, letters, recordings. She looked over her shoulder 3 times during our conversation. Said if she disappeared, I should check the HOA storage unit behind the tennis courts. That place had always been locked, always off limits. And now we knew why. Grandpa's team started monitoring communications. One guy hacked into the HOA's internal email list and found something strange: dozens of deleted messages between Karen and someone named M. They weren't about neighborhood rules. They were about cleaning up the loose ends and maintaining order. It felt like we were living in a movie. But this wasn't fiction. And as more people started coming forward, scared and whispering their truths, one thing became clear. This wasn't about a helicopter anymore. This was about control, fear, and a community that had been manipulated from the inside out. And the scariest part? We still didn't know what Karen was really protecting. Everything came to a head the night the power went out. It was around 11 p.m. No storm, no warning, just total blackout. Streetlights gone, houses pitch dark. And then, from the backyard, we heard it, a soft clicking sound. Grandpa was already out of bed, flashlight in one hand, sidearm in the other. He whispered for everyone to stay down and stay quiet. That's when the motion sensors in the hallway went off. Someone was already inside the fence line. Outside, the SWAT guys were ready. 3 of them had been staying nearby, keeping a low profile while investigating. When the power cut, they took it as a signal. Something was happening. But they didn't expect what came next, from the darkness. Floodlights suddenly snapped on from 2 different rooftops, blinding white, aimed right at our house. We were surrounded. Karen's voice crackled through a cheap speaker, echoing from somewhere across the lawn. "This neighborhood has rules," she said, "and your family has broken all of them." That's when we knew. She wasn't just covering something up. She was orchestrating it. And it wasn't just Karen anymore. Shapes moved behind fences, voices whispered through radios, and suddenly it felt like the entire HOA had been turned into her personal enforcers. These weren't your average nosy neighbors. These were people following orders. And the orders didn't include mercy. Grandpa signaled to his team, and within seconds, the perimeter lit up with movement. Silent takedowns, dark figures rushing through bushes. But it was chaos. Karen had somehow convinced a portion of the HOA members that this was a righteous cause-defending order in the neighborhood. She'd twisted them so far, they believed this wasn't a rescue. It was a rebellion. Meanwhile, I made my way toward the tennis courts where Mrs. Avery said the secrets were hidden. Every step felt like I was being watched. I had no flashlight, just my phone screen, barely lit. But when I got there, the lock on the gate had already been broken. Someone had been here first, and what they left behind would flip everything we thought we knew on its head. The tennis court storage unit door creaked open slowly, and the smell hit first dust, mildew, and something metallic. I stepped inside, heart pounding, phone light shaking in my hand. Old filing cabinets lined the walls, some busted open, others still locked. But right in the middle of the room was a plastic tub, cracked open with papers spilling out. Whoever had been here before me left in a hurry. I started flipping through the documents, and that's when I saw it: blueprints. Not for homes, but for the entire neighborhood grid. Every property marked with codes, red circles around certain houses including ours. There were notes, too. Typed reports labeled observation log, dated back years. They included details that no one outside our house should know. Times we left for vacation, who visited, even what medication Grandpa was taking. Then I found a list. Names of former residents crossed out in red marker, with short reasons like non-compliant. Refused fee hike, violated surveillance zone. Right beneath that was something that made my stomach drop: a page titled, Grandpa, Phase 3, Contain or Displace. I barely had time to react before I heard a footstep behind me. I turned fast, phone light catching someone's face, but it wasn't Karen. It was Mr. Delgado, the quiet HOA treasurer who always acted like he barely spoke English. Only now he was wearing a Combs earpiece and holding a tactical flashlight. "You shouldn't be here," he said, not angry. Just cold. He lunged, but I ducked out and sprinted, heart racing, papers still in my hand. Back at the house,